So, here we are in the bustling metropolis of Stratford, home to the London Stadium and also the National Aquatic Centre, which is pretty appropriate actually, considering that it's felt like at times our politicians want to just shove us straight off the 20-metre board into an empty pool. Now, Boris Johnson has just finally unveiled his Brexit plans, but so far our government's proposals have been rejected more times than I was on a night out at uni, and that is really saying something, actually. Anyway, we've come to see if the good people of Stratford think that Boris will A, get a deal through, and if he can't, B, what should happen next? Boris Johnson's just put his Brexit deal to the EU and to Parliament. Do you think we'll get a deal?
I don't give a tinker's beep about a deal. I think the EU is a conspiracy, a banker's conspiracy to deny working class people across this continent a decent standard of living.
Okay, do you trust Boris Johnson?
I loved Boris Johnson. I think the pathetic accusation of him touching some woman's leg 20 years ago is typical of the PC beep that's covering this country like diarrhea. I absolutely despise and hate all this crap. I like Boris Johnson. He's a shagger, a liar and a jolly good chap. He's someone I'd happily have a drink with. He's a fine man who's doing his best for this country.
So, what do you make of Boris Johnson's approach to Brexit?
I think he's brilliant. Yeah, I think he's really doing a good job. I think he's taking a stand, and that's what we need. We need someone with some balls, actually. Yeah,
that's right.
That's what I think.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you bothered about whether or not Boris manages to get a deal through Parliament?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not bothered. I'd like him to try, but yeah. Oh, do you mean through Parliament or through...
Well, either really. So, like, first and foremost, the EU have got to accept it. Do you reckon they will?
They're looking like they're leaning that way a little bit this time. Yeah, maybe he'll manage it this time with a little bit of tweaking on the backstop. So, yeah, maybe.
But if he doesn't manage to get it through, or if he doesn't manage to get something through Parliament and we end up with no deal, is that something that worries you?
Not particularly. I think we'll suffer a little bit for the first few months, and I do. But no, not particularly. I think we've got to get out, and that's it. You know.
Do you reckon that Boris Johnson will get a Brexit deal?
No, not at all.
Why not?
Well, he's lied at almost every opportunity he's had so far to a lot of people, so I don't think he's very trustworthy and, yeah, won't get through.
Do you reckon that the EU want to give him a deal?
No, it's not beneficial for them at all, really.
And what about, so, if, in this hypothetical world that we live in, Boris gets a deal from the EU, he comes back to Parliament, obviously they've all got to vote on it, all the MPs, do you think that even if he had a good deal, that the MPs would vote it through?
Not really. He's lost majority, and even most of his party don't really support back him with most of his votes, so I don't think it's a good chance really of getting through.
Okay. Do you reckon that Boris Johnson will get a Brexit deal?
Possibly. The thing I like about Boris Johnson is that he seems like he says stuff and it comes across like he wants to get it done, and it's no airs and grace. He's not saying it to please anybody. He's saying it because he thinks, right, I'm going to do this, so I want to get out. So I believe that something will happen. What? I don't know, but I'd like to think that we can get some sort of deal in place. But if it's a no deal, at the end of the day, we voted to get out, let's get out.
So in the whole 3.5-year mess that's happened, has it made you like or dislike the EU more?
To be honest with you, I didn't really have an opinion on it before. I haven't really got an opinion on it now, because the way I look at it is that you look at countries like Switzerland and Norway, they're not in it. They're all right, they're fine. They're not saying, oh, we're struggling or whatever. And what's wrong with the rest of the world? Why can't we deal with the rest of the world, you know? That's not to say that Europe's not going to deal with us, because we've got things that Europe want, Europe got things that we want, you know. So just because, you know, we might come out of a no deal doesn't mean to say that we're going to fall flat on our faces for definite.
Do you reckon that Boris Johnson might actually get us a deal so that we leave the EU?
No, I don't think he will.
Why not?
Because it's gone on too long. I think he would have had a deal by now. And what have we got? 3 weeks? Unless it's a last minute attempt at a deal, which will probably be not what we want.
If we don't get a deal, who do you blame? Do you blame Boris? Do you blame just MPs as a whole? Do you blame the EU?
Not Boris Johnson. It's probably just the MPs before him that have done it all before. Yeah, they've completely cocked it up.
So, the good people of Stratford have had their say. Now look, I know there's loads of people about, but genuinely, we haven't cropped anyone out or anything like that whatsoever. These are the honest views of everyone that agreed to speak to us on camera. And every single one of them, apart from one that is, thought that Boris Johnson should just get on with Brexit. They thought that he would get a deal, and they thought that if he didn't, it wouldn't be his fault. And even the remainder among them thought that MPs would just vote it down anyway, out of spite. So, that's the people of Stratford sorted. Make sure you comment below and let us know where you think we should go next.